Hi, Bryan. Thank you so much for joining me tonight.
Hi, how are you?
Good. So, I am curious, how did you come to the carnivore lifestyle?
Okay. It's actually probably best to go back a little bit and start in 2017. I've only been carnivore for about a year, but let me start there because that explains a little bit. So, early 2017, I was really overweight and a little depressed. Didn't really want to do anything. Um, I laid around a lot, played video games, stuff like that, right? And I decided I needed to do something and lose weight. And I started researching and I found a particular workout thing. It was a diet and workout, right? So it was
Hmm.
both eating and a lot of working out. And I went and started that in March of 2017. Um, I lost quite a bit of weight. Um, I lost about 100 pounds altogether, and it was in about 9 months or so.
Oh,
But
wow.
the problem was that I wasn't very smart at that point about dieting and so forth. And I was completely following this program, and it was low carb and low fat and calorie restriction and working out a lot. So you were, you know, essentially burning calories and so forth,
Hmm.
right? So, I was getting myself malnutritioned. I was starving all the time. We ate like 3 to 4 times a day on that
Oh,
thing, but
wow.
you only ate like 1,500 calories in a day. Um, so it was very small meals.
Hmm.
And I was working out a lot, doing some pretty intense strength training, and then also doing high intensity interval training, like on exercise bikes and stuff like that, right? And yeah, I got to the point that I just couldn't do the diet anymore because I was just so hungry and everything. So I gained all the weight back really quick, like in months.
Oh, wow.
Um, the other thing is, I still was trying to work out even though I was gaining the weight. But even when I was losing the weight and working out, I was always getting sore from the workouts.
Hmm.
And even like, seems like I'd get injuries and so forth. But I always had problems with joint pain, and I had wrist brace that I would wear, knee braces, ankle braces, stuff like that. And I'd have to wear that anytime I worked out or if I walked like a longer distance and so forth. So by 2018, I had gained like most of the weight back. And I also, at that point, um, developed AFib, atrial fibrillation. And that is something with your heart where the signals get messed up
Oh,
and
wow.
your heart does like a different type of beat. So instead of like being like a normal, like this normal rhythm, it
Hmm.
would go like this and then we go, and then it would go like this and then it goes really fast again, right? So that's what AFib is.
Okay.
And so I had that happen in 2018, and the that was the first time. The next time was almost a year later, and then from there it progressively got worse. And the cardiologist said that it would get worse.
Hmm.
That's how it works. That it just gets worse as you go. So I think it was like the third time that I went into it. I didn't go out of it on my own, and they had to. So I was in the hospital overnight, and they had to shock me out of it. So it's where they take the paddles and they shock you back into a normal rhythm.
Hmm.
And then from there, it just seemed to snowball and get worse. Um, I could, I kind of got to a point that I could replicate it by maybe 5 to 10 minutes worth of heavy strength training. If I did that, I was assured I'd go into it.
Okay. Oh,
I
wow.
wasn't. I was on medication at this point already too.
Hmm.
So they gave me a medication to lower my heart rate, and they gave me a blood thinner because when you have this, you can have blood pool up by your heart, and the blood thinner keeps from clotting and potential stroke risk, that type of thing. So this was probably, now I'd say it was around 2021 to 2022, early 2022.
Hmm.
And I had gained all the weight back. Um, I was again more, not really bad depressed, but you know, not happy, sad, like to sit around a lot, stuff like that. And I started looking into what I could do to lose weight. I didn't want to try and do the other thing again because it really just didn't work for me, right?
Right.
So at this point, it's probably around March, April of 2022. So a little over a year ago. And I found Dr. Ken Berry and started watching his videos and doing some research on keto. And I heard a lot of people that I knew that talked about keto and how it worked well for them. So I started in like April time frame doing keto. Um, and I at that time I started looking more and more into carnivore. And then I started watching videos from people like Dr. Sean Baker, Anthony Chafee, Bart K, Professor Bart K. And I kind of read up as much as I could about it. And I would say it was right near the beginning of July is when I decided to go straight to carnivore. So I had been keto for a few months. Didn't have a whole lot of success in terms of weight loss. Maybe lost about 10 pounds, maybe in that time period. Um, so then July went into carnivore, and I think because that I had been keto for a while, that probably helped that I didn't have some of the issues that a lot of people get when they first go into carnivore.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, so I didn't have really too bad of issues going into it, and I started to lose weight.
Nice.
So that's kind of how I found it. And then from there, um, I would say it was probably September, October timeframe. I was at the point that I lost 60 pounds from July.
Wow.
Yeah, so I lost
Wow.
quite a bit in that time period.
That's awesome. What is
And
that? 3 months, four
yeah,
months, something
yeah,
like
about
that.
that. Yeah, yeah.
Wow, that's awesome.
So that was good.
Yeah.
Um, Also, I would say by August time frame, I was noticing that the joint pain was gone. The other thing I didn't say before
Hmm.
was around 2020, I think it was, I had x-rays that confirmed arthritis in my toes. So
Okay.
along with the joint pain, I also had arthritis. And literally the one attack of arthritis in late 2021 lasted about 6 weeks on my big toe, my right big toe,
Hmm.
to where I could barely walk or anything. And it was swollen for about 6 weeks. Um, I had an appointment scheduled for a foot doctor that kept getting pushed out because it's hard to get in. And
Hmm.
all I had at that point was the x-rays and knew that it was arthritis, but I didn't know even what they could do for that. And I guess it was supposed to happen in like December, and I kind of just put it off. At that point, finally, it wasn't swollen anymore. So I didn't end up going to the appointment.
Oh.
um, but
That's
that was
great.
still before I did keto or carnivore, right?
Yeah.
So still what would happen is like if I banged my big toe, it would cause a flare up, and it would flare up for a week or two, and I would just deal with it. It would be
Hmm.
swollen. Even the top of my foot would get swollen. It was weird because at first the doctor thought it was gout, and people were telling me, yeah, that's gout. But
Hmm.
in the blood work, I didn't have, I can't remember, there's like some sort of acid that is really high when you have gout, and I didn't have that issue. and
Right.
the x-rays did show arthritis.
Okay.
But I would say by, August, so yeah, probably August, about a month in on carnivore, the the joint pain and arthritis seemed to go away. I didn't have any more pain. And it's been to the point of I can bang my knee, I can bang my toes. Um, and sometimes I've done it really hard, and at most it hurts like for maybe an hour or two, and then it goes away. So like the first few times when I banged it, I was like, great, here comes another week or two
Mm-hmm.
of, sitting here with a swollen foot or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And it hasn't happened. So it's like, within like a month or so, the inflammation that was really bad in my body went away. So that was good. And
Awesome.
that was better for me than losing the 60 pounds, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I
Um,
understand.
yeah. So I would say the other big thing that really happened was I started to get happier and I wanted to go out and do things. So I started actually, my wife would get surprised sometimes because I'd be like, I get done with work and I'd be like, hey, you want to go do something? She's like, really? Like, you never want to do anything. So that really happened really early too for me.
Nice.
Um, AFib.
Yeah,
I have not had an episode in pretty much a year now.
that's great.
And I was at a point that I was usually having one or two a week. And again, like I had said, I could recreate it right by
Mm-hmm.
lifting heavy weights for like 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I don't work out a lot now, but when I do, I can do 20, 30 minutes and I'm doing heavier weights than what I was doing then. And I have not kicked myself into it. So um, I, I don't know how to explain that other than I've heard that from a few others as I've talked about it on my channel. And the cardiologist said there's no way to really get rid of it, that we can't do it. But eating a carnivore diet has done it as best as I can tell. It's much better, at least, because I haven't
Mm-hmm.
gone into it, right?
Right.
Um, so yeah. So
Just a little thing like that. That's all.
yeah.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I do have to tell you though, for the longest time on carnivore, I wasn't 100% carnivore.
Okay.
And that's probably, there's going to be people out there to be like, yeah, he wasn't really carnivore.
Oh,
They'll,
okay.
they'll probably say I was more like ketovore
Mm-hmm.
because I would go 3 or 4 days where I wouldn't eat any carbs, be nothing but meat or, eggs, whatever. And then I'd have a day, I'd have some mashed potatoes or rice or something with my meal.
Okay.
And I was typically eating 2 meals a day. So usually it was just one meal in a day that I would have some carb. But so I wasn't really 100% carnivore all the time, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then in the holidays, like between Thanksgiving and Christmas, I kind of slacked a little bit and ate some bad stuff, some sugar and stuff like that, right? And I did
Yeah.
gain some weight. So I gained about 10 pounds during that time period. And then when I got into January of this year, I got more strict again, but I didn't go 100% carnivore still. I still would every once in a while have mashed potatoes or something, and even sometimes a salad or something, right?
Yeah.
So what I was finding there was I wasn't gaining weight anymore, but I was still the 10 pounds up from the holidays and I wasn't
Right.
losing any weight. And that's when I decided, okay, I'm gonna get strict with it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time that I said I wasn't gonna have any more carbs, I realized that some of the flavored drinks that I was drinking, sparkling ice and stuff like that, had fake sugar, had like sucralose in it.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized I needed to get rid of that. So I went to just plain water, meat, um, sometimes eggs, and salt. And I've done that pretty much for just over a month now, and I've lost 15 pounds.
What?
Yeah.
That's
So
crazy. So 75?
so yeah, well, so let me think about this. Yeah, so when I okay, I kind of messed up a little bit here. Let me.
Okay, it's
So I
okay.
had gained 10 pounds and I didn't gain any, I didn't lose any of that right away, right?
Okay.
But then I decided I was going to kind of get more strict, but I
Yeah.
didn't get rid of the flavored waters and I still would cheat a little bit, but not quite as much. And this is like probably in April. And I did lose about the 10 pounds then.
Oh, okay.
Then in May, it was actually May 21st was the first day. I
Yeah.
went to the point where I did not have any more carbs, and no more of the sparkling water or bubbly or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And that's when I lost 15 pounds. So
Oh,
that was
wow.
25 pounds,
Okay.
but there was the 10-pound gain.
Sure.
So it was a total of 75 pounds. So right now I'm at 75 pounds. And in a couple of days, I will be at 1 year.
That's awesome. I mean, that's incredible.
Yeah.
That's a lot of weight to lose in a year. Um,
Yep.
in addition to, actually, let me ask you a different question first. So when at Christmas or Thanksgiving or whatever, you like went off plan and you ate something different, how did your body feel? Did you notice any changes in your body? Like, yeah.
Yeah. I would say that the biggest change was just that I could feel not really pain, but I didn't feel as well, if that makes
Okay.
sense.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I never really got to the point that I started having joint pain again, although there was an experiment that I can bring up that I did find. But
Sure.
um, for the most part, yeah, I didn't have pain. It was
Okay.
just that I didn't feel as well.
Yeah.
And I probably just was a little sad, maybe not really. So maybe there's a
Mm,
little bit of depression starting to come back in.
okay.
But yeah, overall it wasn't that bad. But I think also part of why it might not have been that bad was that I wasn't always 100% carnivore. I'd have the times that I'd put in some
Okay.
carbs
Mm-hmm.
because I did recently mess up, I guess is the best way to say it. And I had a
Sure.
couple of carbs and it's been totally different this time.
Okay.
I feel like I had the other day I had a cookie and something else I can't remember now. Um and I felt horrible. Like I just felt sick that night. I didn't feel right until I woke up in
Yeah.
the morning and then I felt better.
Yeah, I'm not laughing at you. I'm just laughing at, yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. Anytime I've gone off, because I've been pretty strict since I've started. I mean, I just this month got rid of the sweeteners, the fake sweeteners, and that handled the last of my cravings. But yeah, no, if I go off, I'll just have gas or my stomach will hurt or something will go wrong or eating cashews, I'll be like having a problem in the bathroom the next day. Like
So the
it's
first thing that
crazy.
happened the other day when
Yeah.
I think before I had the cookie, I had something else. I can't remember what it was. But the first thing that happened with that, within like an hour or so, my right side started hurting and it hurt for at least a few hours. And I
Oh
was like,
wow.
I don't know what this is. So I'm thinking that maybe it was something with my digestive system because
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't used to eating that type of a thing because it'd been
Right.
over a month.
Right.
So yeah, that definitely happened. And then I had the cookie and I can't remember what else I had. I had something else that was like sugar or something. It was, and I just felt horrible that
Mm-hmm.
evening. I mean, I was like, am I getting sick or something? Because I like never get sick,
Right.
anymore. I used to
Yeah.
get sick all the time. And that's something else I guess I should have said is I used to be sick all the time and I never get sick anymore.
That's
Um,
awesome.
the only time I've been sick really has been when I had COVID. So
That's fun.
yeah. I mean, I can tell you about the COVID story because I actually had the experience of getting it before I was on carnivore and then getting it again on
Ah,
carnivore.
yeah, I'd like to hear that actually.
Yeah. So the first time was before carnivore, and obviously I was overweight and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it was really bad. Um, Bad enough that I went to the hospital and got an IV and some oxygen and so forth.
Oh, wow.
And they held me there for a few hours and then sent me home. And, I had to make sure I drank and stuff. And I was, so it was in the middle of winter and we had a bad snowstorm that knocked out electricity, and we didn't have electricity for like 3 days.
Oh no,
And yeah, so
cold.
I was sick with COVID at that point too.
Right.
So it was interesting because I can't even remember much about those 3 days because I was just out of it. My wife told me I was in and out of it, just going to sleep all the time and
Mm-hmm.
not feeling well. And so that was a really bad experience.
Sure.
And then I got it again um last fall. So I was, a few months into COVID, or I mean, a few months into carnivore. Plus, I
Right.
had done keto for a few months. And the only reason why I really knew that I had it was because other people in the family had it.
Mm.
And I had some sniffles
Okay.
and a little bit of a sore throat. And I tested positive.
Oh,
I wouldn't
okay.
have even have tested for it
Right.
if I didn't know that other people had it, right? So
Sure.
I tested positive and I felt a little like a cold for a couple days, and that was it. So it's
Wow.
interesting
Mm-hmm.
how when you're eating healthy, even something like COVID is not near as bad as what it is when your body's not healthy
Sure.
itself.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's crazy. COVID sucks. I hope my video doesn't get like weird, whatever, now that we're talking about this. um uh Slightly different change of subject, or a similar subject, but like when you started, like what types of food were you eating and like what are you eating now? Does that make sense? I mean, I guess you already explained that. Like, do you see that
Yes,
you were eating tons of different animal stuff and now your tongue only wants like specific things?
somewhat, yes.
Okay.
When I first started, I was actually eating a lot of eggs and bacon,
Okay.
quite a bit. And I was eating some steak, some ground beef, chicken. Um, for the most part, that was probably it, other than like seafood, right? I'd have salmon, shrimp,
Mm-hmm.
occasionally crab legs, but it's a bit more expensive, so I don't get that very often. So I was eating a lot of that stuff, but I was really eating a lot of eggs. For some reason, early on, I craved eggs a
Mm-hmm.
lot. Um, More recently here, especially like when I've been strict with it, I've been eating pretty much beef. Um, for a month, for nearly a month, I was pretty much beef, butter, bacon, and eggs without
Mm-hmm.
declaring that I was doing BBB and E.
Yeah.
It's funny. I kind of went back and looked, and I was like 3 or 4 weeks into it, and I'm like, yeah, I've been doing BBB and E, and I didn't even think about it, but I was.
Mm-hmm.
I have since added in a little bit of shrimp and chicken wings and chicken thighs with the skin on them. So I've added a little bit of that stuff back in, but I haven't been
Okay.
having the eggs as much as I used to. It's been
Mm-hmm.
more so the beef, especially ribeye or New York strip.
Nice. It's so good.
Right. Mhm.
And what does your wife think about all this?
So originally, she really didn't like it, but she did, she let me do my thing, right?
Okay.
Um, she, yeah, I would say she, she just basically said, because so I'm the kind of person I research things like crazy before I do it. Like I researched carnivore while I was doing keto and stuff for
Mm-hmm.
2 to 3 months, probably. Watching all kinds of videos and just researching stuff on the internet and so forth, and researching a lot about cholesterol and LDL and all that stuff. And she was like, I'm not really convinced, but I was telling her, like, look, I did all this research, me, and that's like what I do. And, I looked at this and, you know, this really doesn't cause heart disease. Saturated fat is not the bad guy that everybody's made it out to be, and explained why and all that stuff. And she's like, yeah, I guess it kind of makes sense, but I still just don't know. So it's like, okay, well, let's see how your lab work is. Um, and my lab work's been pretty good. So in April, that would have been, I guess, 9 months or so on carnivore.
Mm-hmm.
Um, my triglycerides were down to 118. Before I started carnivore, they were 273. Now, I need to also paraphrase this with I'm still on the AFib medication,
Okay.
and I do have an appointment coming up in, I think it's September, with my cardiologist where we've talked the last time, based on where I'm at. If I lose a little more weight, he's probably going to take me off that medication.
That's
But
great
the
news.
medication, it is, but the
Yeah.
medication has a side effect of raising your triglycerides. So
Oh, wow.
with them being 118 in April, they could have been even under 100 if I didn't take that
Mm.
medication.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's like a huge improvement. It's
Right.
really, really good. My HDL went from 30, 38, I believe it was, to 45. So that went up. I was hoping it was going to be higher than that, but that's okay. Um, and then the cholesterol that everybody tells you is going to be really bad. I was worried that it was going to be really high. And then,
Yeah.
the doctor was going to be like, yeah, you got to need to go on a statin. And then I would have to fire the doctor because I'm not going to do that. But it wasn't
Yeah.
that bad. I was just slightly
Okay.
over like the standard range. I can't remember exactly now what it was. And the
Right.
LDL wasn't too bad. It was 104, I think. And the standard range goes up to like 100 or something. So
Okay.
he wasn't really concerned.
Right.
Um, so that was all good. I do take magnesium and potassium that I've been taking ever since AFib.
Okay.
So that is because when I was in the hospital one time with AFib, they thought that it was a little low and that that can contribute. So ever since then, I've been on a supplement for both of those, and that's continued to be well. So I know that, like, some people, when they go to carnivore, they need to take some kind of electrolytes, and it's pretty
Mm-hmm.
much sodium, magnesium, and potassium. For me,
Right.
I haven't had to do that because I have the magnesium and potassium supplement, and then I always salt all my food with
Right.
Redmond's real salt. So I'm getting plenty of sodium too. My
Nice.
sodium levels have been fine. Magnesium, potassium has been fine. Vitamin C, vitamin D, all those have been fine. And I used to have low vitamin D, by the way, but it's now fine.
Interesting. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe from the butter and the beef.
Yeah, I think it's mostly just that I lost weight because
Oh.
they say that people that are heavier have a hard time with absorbing the vitamin
Mm.
D. So I think that's what
Okay.
that is, to be honest.
Oh, okay. Nice. So, now that your wife has seen all this, how is she in the present? How is she with you doing this
Um,
carnivore
she's
thing?
fine with me doing it, but she's
Okay.
still not doing it herself.
Okay.
Um, it's one of those situations where you have to let people decide that they're ready to do something.
Right.
And she'll use the excuse of that she just doesn't think that she cannot eat carbs because she likes carbs too much.
Mm-hmm.
And if that's the excuse that somebody's using, then to be honest, they're just not ready. And until they're ready, it's not going to work if they try it
Right.
because, it's just not. So
Yeah.
I hope that, I will continue to be an example that will show her that it is good and maybe she'll eventually do it. But right now, that's where it's at.
I understand. But at least she's supporting you.
Yeah. Yeah. She's always been pretty good about that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I mean, I have kids in the house,
Yeah.
and there's always something that's not good in the house. That's like why I ate the cookie the other day. But typically I've been pretty good in not doing that, not cheating.
Okay.
Um, so
That's
I did the other day. I don't know what to say, but
it
it
happens. I
happens.
don't know what
Yeah.
to say. Yeah, you got to just see, like, I don't know, like, I guess if you're a vegetarian or a vegan or something and you slip up and eat a piece of meat, that's like a terrible thing.
Yeah, I
But
guess.
you just get back
Yeah.
on whatever wagon you're on is all I'm saying. Like, you ate a cookie, okay. Just don't eat the whole box and
Yeah.
keep going back to what you were doing before.
Right.
You
And my
know,
kids, it's funny because I say I have kids, but they're about to be 20 and 18. Well, I have twins that are 20 and then an 18, one that's about to be 18 in a couple days here.
oh wow,
So they're older. They're not like young kids.
they're adults.
And yeah, unfortunately, we didn't really do anything to restrict sugar and stuff like that. So they've grown up that way.
Yeah,
So it's really hard to get them to not want to do that. My
yeah.
son's been actually kind of trying carnivore here for about a week or so, and I
Oh,
think it's been
great.
going okay.
Yeah.
But the rest of the family doesn't really want to do it at this
No.
point. So
And you can't like, can you like replace the bad carbohydrates with like something slightly better? You get what I'm saying? Like you got the Oreo cookies, why not put the keto cookies? I mean, it's not so much better, but
yeah. So, you know,
mm,
I mean, I am a big fan of Professor Bart K.
yeah.
And I would have to say that it probably doesn't help as much as people might think. If
Oh,
it's
okay.
something that if it's something that maybe you're trying to take steps to go down to no carb, that
Right.
makes sense. Like
Right.
really they say you don't want to just go cold turkey to no carbs, right?
Right.
You don't want to change your diet, any type of diet, and just
Sure.
with without taking a few weeks to get there, right?
Yeah.
Um, and definitely that it's the same way with the sugar. So I can see maybe, just like, okay, let's look at like drinking soda. You could go from soda to, some sort of flavored sparkling drink and then,
Right.
slowly go down to just drinking water, that type of
Right.
deal, right?
Yeah.
But either way you look at it, carbs just aren't good. And a
Sure.
lot of it comes back to the Randall cycle. And when you're doing like carnivore or keto, you're eating high fat,
Yeah.
right? So basically the Randall cycle, if you're bringing in a lot of fat and carbs at the same time, your cells are going to get filled up, and
Hmm.
then all of the carb is going to go into your blood, and that becomes your insulin in your blood, glucose, and that's why people start having diabetes problems.
Right.
And typically we eat like that over, for years, and it takes
Sure.
years to really get to that point. Some
Hmm.
people get there quicker than others, but
Right.
that's kind of what happens. So it's really better to not have any carbs at all, no
Yeah.
matter what. A
Sure.
carb is a carb. It
I
unfortunately
agree.
it still breaks down as glucose in your body. So,
Right. Yeah. In our house, we don't have like the pre-packaged box stuff. I mean, we have some rice. I think there's some spaghetti. I might just throw it away. Like we have a few things that my kids eat, but for me, that spaghetti and rice is already disgusting. If I eat spaghetti, it just is terrible. So I don't have any like inclination or wanting to eat that. But like cookies and stuff, we don't have that in the house. So it's been easier for me because it's already kind of part of our culture that we don't have those things like bread and stuff. So I was just thinking, what could you do? Oh, and I've never been a big fruit person except when I was pregnant. So I don't even like the fruit. So I don't have things in my house that tempt me. And I was thinking maybe if you change those, it'd be easier for you. Change those. But I understand my kids are young.
yeah.
Like at least I'm learning this while they're young.
So what's funny with the fruit is when I was doing this other diet in 2017,
Yeah.
it was low carb, but there was still some carb. And I used to have a banana every day in a protein shake. The protein shake probably wasn't the best in the world either, but
Oh yeah.
so I was having like a banana every day, and now I found out that like bananas are some of the highest sugar fruits there is.
It's
It's like
crazy.
I was doing that every day. So
Right. Oh, I got real fat when I was pregnant doing protein shakes with banana and like peanut butter and an avocado. And I, I didn't,
mm,
they tell you you're eating for two, but it's just a lie. It's just a
yeah.
lie. No, but yeah, no, bananas fatten me up real quick. No, I think I actually have eaten bananas, but fruit has never been very exciting to me. But if anything, I would get easily addicted to bananas.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, So curious, are there any other like is there anything that's like surprised you as a change in your body or how you feel mentally that you didn't realize was going to happen unless we've already covered it?
Yeah. So let me think about this. I wrote notes, by
Oh,
the way,
okay.
just so that because I'm not good at remembering things all the time, but and of course I don't have this written down either. Great. Okay, so I gotta think about this. So this is a big thing that I've really noticed more recently, and it's kind of has to do with my mood, but it's about being calmer as a
Hmm.
person.
Yeah,
Um, Not that I was a bad person, a mean person or anything,
sure,
but I definitely was the kind of person that would get confrontational with people and argue. That would happen like with my wife or whoever, especially if like I'm talking about sports or something with somebody and I didn't agree with them. I would get argumentative and pretty loud sometimes over it. You know, people can be passionate about sports, and I
sure.
definitely would be. And I would say it slowly happened. So it's not one of those things that happened right away with
Hmm.
carnivore, but
Okay.
something I've slowly noticed. And so I started like in July of 2022 on carnivore, and I was active on YouTube, but I didn't have my own YouTube channel or anything.
Hmm.
And I would see comments, and I would see somebody's comment about something like, I don't know, somebody had posted something about eating butter or something, and somebody would be like, yeah, you're going to die from that. And I'd be like, what are they talking about? That it's not really true.
Yeah.
And I would put comments back in there and I'd be like, yeah, you're wrong. I mean, saturated fat really doesn't cause heart disease and blah, 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 all this stuff. And, and then I started my own carnivore channel finally in like April, mid-April, I think, of this year. So it's been like probably a couple months.
Hmm.
And even early on, then sometimes there would be comments, and I'd be like, I wouldn't be as agitated about it, but I
Hmm.
still would comment back, like, no, that's not right, whatever. So it was a little better. And, it was a little more calm, but still, you know, not a whole lot. And maybe that was partly because I wasn't always 100% carnivore and I was cheating a little here and there.
Hmm.
Because really, more recently is where I've noticed even more calmness to the effect of in probably a month here now, the most of the videos that I have come out, if somebody says something, I'm like, okay, that's their opinion. I know they're
Hmm.
wrong, but I'm not going to reply back. And that's completely different. And
Right.
the other thing, which probably goes back even more than the last month, and this is why I say it's kind of been a slow, gradual thing, at least for a few months, I think I've noticed that
Hmm.
I haven't been as argumentative like with my wife or whoever it is. And some of that might just have to be with being a happier person. I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
I get it.
but yeah, I seem to be more calm. And it's funny because like I said, my wife doesn't do carnivore, and she definitely has her time sometimes where she'll get upset about something. I'll do something stupid or whatever, and she'll yell at me, and I'll be like, okay, yeah. And she's like, why are you not getting mad back at me? I don't know, because I guess it's okay. I don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those things that I've noticed that I've been a lot calmer.
That's awesome. Yeah, I've experienced the same thing. I almost feel your story of like whatever with the spouse and then laughing it off as opposed to getting mad.
Mhm.
I mean, maybe not all the time, but it's a lot better.
Yeah, yeah.
That's awesome. So, if anyone wanted to first, how would you recommend somebody starts this? If someone was interested, what would you say to them?
So, a couple of things to this. First of all, I don't think that people should wait. I don't think that they should be like, okay, I'm going to start on this date. Just start right away.
Mm-hmm.
But if they're doing the standard American diet or whatever, if they're not from America, it'll be a different country, but it's still the standard diet that people do where there's a lot of carbs.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing is, and again, start right away, but gradually get to where you need to, where there's no carbs. So, you know, even if it's over 4 to 6 weeks, slowly take certain carbs away. Maybe start with a lot of sugar and take that away
Mm-hmm.
to where you have carbs that aren't quite as high in sugar, or maybe even, I hate to say this, but fake sugar,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, fake sugar is probably just as bad, but if you have an addiction, it might to sugar, it might help you to slowly go that route to get rid of it so that you don't have the headaches. And there's the thing called the keto flu, right? And you get that with carnivore too, because it really has to do with getting rid of the carbs and the sugar. And if you do that slowly, it's not as bad. um, so that's what I would suggest. But I would suggest starting right away, not saying, okay, like it's June 28th and I'm going to wait until July 1st. No, just start right away,
Mm-hmm.
because there's always going to be an excuse or a reason that, okay, I'm going to start this day instead. And, it's your health. So start right away. That's what I'd say.
Okay, awesome. And if people wanted to reach out to you, how do they find you?
Okay. So I have a YouTube channel. It's Wick Goes Carnivore. And I also have Instagram, and I have Twitter and Facebook. Um, Facebook is a Facebook page, Wick Goes Carnivore. Twitter, I'm trying to, okay, Twitter is from my coaching days, and it's at Coach Big Bry, BRI.
Okay,
And
yeah.
then Instagram, I think, is just my name. It's Bryan.Nowicki, I believe.
Nice.
So
And your
yeah,
YouTube channel, unless you already
yep.
said that.
And yeah, that's Wicko's Carnivore, which is, well, so the Wicko's Carnivore is the name, but it's actually at Wickivore. So that's like my little play on carnivore.
Yeah.
So it's Wicivore.
Yeah, exactly. I
So
remember
yeah,
that now. I thought of that. I was like, oh, that's smart. That's cute.
yeah. I don't know. I guess I try to be funny sometimes. So
It worked. It worked. I thought it was very smart. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm sure we will do this again. And
all right.
ciao.